Gambia High Commission in Sierra Leone. So most of you understand that the Gambia High Commission in Sierra Leone is overseeing both Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire. It's an opportunity for me to be here today with a special guest that we brought, a youth from Monrovia. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Ms. Stefan Audrey. She is a global ambassador for youth empowerment and also for climate change. She's involved in a lot of activities and a lot of work in Liberia. And not only in Liberia, but also beyond other parts of Africa. On my right, I have our honorary counselor, Mr. Ismail Assise. Mr. Ismail Assise is the honorary counselor in Liberia, in Gambia. And of course, the executive director, Mr. Haji Jaji, is and also the part of our delegation is another gentleman. He is a partner of Stefan Audrey. Stefan heard about Gambia, and since what he does has a lot to do with youth work and youth empowerment, I thought it was befitting during our visit to make sure that we introduce her to the National Youth Council. This will open up the communication link between her and what she does with the young people of this country. She's very passionate about what she does, and also promoting and protecting the interests of the young folks when it comes to empowering the youth and also protecting our environment. So I want to give the opportunity to Ms. Audrey to have a word with you, and also that will be followed by short questions and answers. If you have some questions that you may want to ask, you are free to do so. And I thank all of you for your time and for answering to our call. We are always proud of the press, both the print and the electronic media in Gambia. You are doing a fantastic job, and you are supporting our national development agenda. I think I want to say thank you and keep up the excellent job you are doing to give Gambia the exposure that it needs. It's a small country, but with your help and with your dedication to our national development agenda, Gambia, the sky is the limit for us. And I want to thank our young men and women for your hard work and for always being there when we needed you most. Thank you.
Thank you. I must appreciate you again for opening up the corridors for me to have this opportunity to come to Gambia and speak to key stakeholders in the youth of Gambia. And I must commend you all for being here today. It is an honorable pleasure to be here as well. And Mr. Minister, will see you again. Okay, Mr. Executive Director, also I want to thank you for having me, and thank you so much for setting this up. I'm honored. So, as you all have been told, I'm Stephanie Audrey Poto. I don't like to use the ambassador because I believe we're all young people, but I'm actually a global ambassador for youth empowerment and climate change. And I've been working close to governments and youth empowerment related projects with the UN, local government, and private institutions since I was 11. And at 12, 13, I started working with the Foreign Ministry. And I also worked with one of Africa's first female president, Madam Sirleaf, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Yes, some of you have heard about her. And I was mentored by her and some people close to her as well. And I'm currently building a mini city in my country, Liberia. Because I studied, I went to school abroad and I learned and decided to come back and contribute my quota to my country. So doing a mega city where we would have medical institution, boarding homes, art studios, hotels, and just everything a city should have. And I signed this contract so that I could be able to do this project throughout Liberia as a way of contributing to infrastructure development. And also I'm building the first historic arts academy in Liberia. to help to contribute to economic empowerment, because we all see what happens on TV with the Americans, and you know you could earn more and contribute to economic development through arts and entertainment, because people don't only learn from what is seen on TV, but people are able to gain resources to be able to support their family, and on the multiplier effect goes. And it is also my vision to work with other African countries. So as youth empowerment ambassador and global ambassador for climate, and also as a businesswoman, I'm visiting governments and key stakeholders in Africa, including presidents, so that I could be able to discuss with them matters of mutual interest and mutual benefits, so that we see what we could do for our continent, you know, how I could work with them. Because I believe we are the young generation, especially, it takes us to step to the plate and create the Africa we want to see. You know, because growing up, being there, I know how it feels. If you don't add value to yourself and sit on the table and make other people around the table to understand that you deserve a seat at that table, trust me, it's not going to work out. So I'm doing a lot of projects, and I'm very glad to, you know, be obliged to come to Gambia. I've seen the country, I've met other stakeholders before coming here, and I love the country. And I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'm looking forward to seeing what are the opportunities open, you know, and how I could work and support some of these projects, you know, whether on the business front or relating to youth empowerment and other things, because some of the other projects I do, the likes of agricultural projects, women empowerment in terms of micro loan and so forth. And even currently, now that we're going towards elections in Nigeria, there's a project I'm working with ECOWAS and the Women's Situation Loan, where we're doing civic and photos education, and we're empowering the youth, you know, so that they can take ownership of their future, you know. So, you know, and even asking them questions like, why do you vote for this candidate, you know, because they should know. And, you know, empowering them so that they grow above the one bag of rice and the small money politicians will give them to cause violence or, you know, cause chaos, you know, because it is our future. We cannot continue taking the perks. So what are the opportunities that we can create? Because I believe if you are empowered and I'm empowered, there can be no politician or any other common man that will come and tell you do this to go against your future, you know. It's actually the poverty that cause some of these things. So those are the things I'm planning on working to minimize. So, and I cannot do it alone. So I have to visit the continent and see like-minded leaders that I could work with and stakeholders and even youth like you. So this is as far as I can say. There are lots that I'm doing, but I will now open the floor for questions as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can take the questions. What?
So, I am Suleiman from the Point newspaper.
Okay.
From the Point newspaper.
Okay.
The Gambia stands at about 41.5% employment rate, youth employment, unemployment rate. And what do you have for young people in Gambia that will help them?
Well, this is why I'm here, because I always say, you know, like I remember I went to the OSCE and saw there are certain things being done, you know, in favor of Africa, and then there was no African at the table. You know, you have to tell me what needs to be done. Why do you think there are lists of unemployment in Gambia? I'm not a Gambian, I may not know that. So this is why I'm here, for you to tell me what you intend to do. I could just say, okay, we will build another youth hub, or we would contribute to opening an entertainment center or so forth, but you know what you're faced with. So I would rather you recommend to me what you think could be done, and then we can all work it out together. Because for now, I don't know the country. I cannot tell you what I would do. I may be wrong if I come and open an arts academy or something. Suppose that's not what you need, and you have a lot of arts academy around here. So I think it's better if you tell me what we could do. So the question goes back to you.
Thank you, Juan.
Right.
Okay. My name is Lamin Sise.
Thank you.
My question is, you have been here for a few days, I can say.
Yeah, okay.
A day.
Yeah.
I know before you come here, you make some background research about certain activities that youth are actually involved in.
Obviously.
Thank you. What do you think the National Youth Council that are actually working with youth directly, can do in order to, boost the employment opportunity for youths in the Gambia?
Well, to answer your question, I would say it's opening up more opportunities, and putting mechanisms in place that will be able to empower the youth to have jobs, and also doing case studies and knowing what sector works. Because from my country, Liberia, as a case study, we see that a lot of young people want to be musicians and politicians because that's where they feel the money is. But getting to know that there are other sectors like the agricultural sector, the tech sector, where you have technology and other things. So it's also doing case studies and seeing what sectors could promote you all, and also promoting the human capital level. Like something I do, I normally partner with governments in Liberia and other countries where we liaise with the Chinese government, the government of the UK and other, including the American government, and we find scholarships in specific areas, like for example, engineering, because of course we have to build our own countries, because if we don't train or boost the human capital level where our own people can come and build, the money will still go out of the country. Then you will not empower the young people because you will have to call the Indians or the French or the Americans or the Turkish to come and build, and then they take the money out of the country. But we could just empower some young people interested in engineering, and then they be able to build and beautify their own country. The likes with agriculture and technology. So you all too have to be willing because there's a role for all of us to play. So if we work with the Ministry of Youth to open up these corridors, you have a role. Because the young people nowadays, especially for Liberia, always give case studies. The young people don't want to go on the farm. They're like, no, I can't get my hands dirty. We should do things that are a bit more fancy. And also even the arts and entertainment industry. So it's all about creating awareness on the importance of these areas too. That's something I would recommend. So you would come up with the opportunities that are there. You will create the awareness, why, something that would convince the youth that, okay, these are the right areas, and something that will be able to pair them with the right areas, because we all can do the same thing. Some may be interested in agriculture, and some might be interested, but they don't know actually that they were interested. And from just your awareness, it will make them to understand. Because even me, I'm very diverse when it comes to things I know and things I have interest in. For me, I didn't even know, what it took to plant rice and salt. But when I started doing some UN projects and I saw the importance of agriculture, I will tell you I know how to plant some cassava. I can tell you a lot about it. It's beautiful when we make things our passion, but then again, we have to be motivated to do those things. So coming up with a list, creating clues about what they can do, and also working to, give them the understanding that these things, are important, and we need to take up these roles so that we can be able to cover the loopholes. So I believe that's the first way to go, the first three, and then before we start the implementation, because it takes the youth, and it takes us who will bring the funding in. Because if we go and do everything and the youth are not willing to work, it all falls back on us again. So that's what I feel. I hope that answers your question.
I think I wanted to say to what you told was regarding that. This is one of the areas where the embassies are expected to play an important role. We are not just there representing our countries. What we are trying to do is we understand some of the issues back home. What you have just made mention of youth unemployment. That is a concern globally now. And especially in Africa, there's no country that is accepted. That is not having the same problem. You go to Senegal, Gambia, Bissau, you can name all these African countries, and even beyond. So what can we do as embassies? This is where we should start looking around when we hear about people like herself, and we profile them, we find out what they do, and how can what they can be related to the Gambia. Youth unemployment is not just about people not getting jobs in the government. There are a lot of jobs in the informal sector. People want to do private gardening, private farming. and you see the impact of climate change. It's discouraging a lot of people. So what people like her does, when they come to our countries, they want to look at some of the project proposals that we have. If that project has anything to do with climate change, then she becomes your ambassador. She can go there out there and represent you, solicit funding on your behalf. Well, Gambian youth, this is the unemployment rate. But surprisingly, when I went to Gambia, I found out that the youth, this is what they want, and I think this is climate related. So if we help the young people funding in this aspect, that will reduce the unemployment rate. The same thing also can come on the youth empowerment.
Right.
We have so many able bodies in this country. What can we do? But again, we have to sit down ourselves as young people of this country, the cream of the society. We decide what we want to do. We have to diversify. Not everybody should graduate and go and sit in an office. So this is where, when somebody is identified as a UN global ambassador for climate change and for youth empowerment, they go out there and dialogue with young people, find out what are some of the issues, what are the things that they are talking about, what do they really want. But she cannot tell us what we want in Gambia. She understands Liberia. This is why she's building a smart city in Liberia. She's involved in the education work. She's involved in health-related work. She's involved in agriculture-related work. She's bringing other projects in Liberia, and she wants to replicate similar projects here. So this is why we invited her, and she has the idea, as it's also exposed. She's well connected. She can have access to people and places where you and I will not have access to. So that's why we want to use her as also our ambassador, not only global ambassador for Liberia, but global ambassador for youth empowerment and for climate change for the whole of Africa. If you look at our tourism industry, it's seriously affected by the global warming, climate change, what's happening here. Agriculture, all our sectors are affected. The education sector, how many of our young people are leaving school going backward? If at all they are employed here, they will not go. All those are climate related. So she can make a good argument on our behalf. If we do A, B, and C for the Gambian youth, I think this will reduce migration. I think this will contribute to the health of the people. And there are other sectors also in health and other things. So this is why I thought when we were coming and saying first, we cannot go to Gambia without meeting the National Youth Council, because I mean, this would be the communication channel between your work and the young people of the Gambia. So, and the foreign policy now, the way we are doing diplomacy and now is different. Now we want to focus more on economic diplomacy. That is, every embassy start asking, what can I bring to my country? Because this is what the Chinese are doing very well. The Chinese are creating so many millionaires, not because of what is happening in China. When they come to your country, you give them projects, you know, they hire Chinese people. By the time that project ends, they go back, they all become millionaires. So this is what we also want to start doing now. We want to see any opportunity that we come across. The first thing we think about, how can this project, or how can this idea, or how can this program be executed in the Gambia? And this is why we thought it was necessary for her to come to Gambia. We are meeting with the first lady, some other key ministers, you know, to see how we can put our heads together so that she can also represent Gambia where Gambia is not represented and where other African countries are also not represented. Because she's very good at what she does. We just don't bring people here because they want to come. Now, those days are over. Before we bring you and introduce you to our leaders, we make sure that we are convinced about the work you do, and also that we must be convinced that we can contribute to the empowerment of this country. We have our National Development Board. We have our National Development Agenda. Anything that somebody wants to bring, if it doesn't fall within that framework, we say, no, I'm sorry, this is not our national priority area now. What is our national priority area where we show interest and demonstrate interest? But she is very, very ready and willing to expand what she does in Gambia. Not only just this ambassador work, but also, like she said, as a businesswoman. Thank you.
Alaji?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Welcome to the Gambia, Ms. Stephen. This is a very beautiful initiative from you and your team. My question would focus on to build a mini city in the Gambia. What are your expectations from the Gambia government? If I can have top 5 expectations from you.
Well, if I were to build a mini city in the Gambia, the first thing is the government will have to identify the land, and also the interests will have to be identified in terms of mutual benefits. Of course, the government will know the meaning of that. And also, the main thing for me, because I have a soul urge to be able to make impact on people's life, because money will always come, is not the biggest part of the whole thing. But you know, those young people and those women and fathers and mothers that will be empowered through the opening of the city. Because like for what I'm even doing back home, you know, there are some people that will be working there. There are some people that will be the engineers. You know, some people are paid to guide the area, to even cook. And with the city, there are different sectors because there's a fashion hub, there's a multi-complex, and there's a museum. So you know, you can imagine the job opportunities that will be created. And also for Liberia, I brought the coach of Barcelona there recently, and they agreed to build the sports part of it, where they will train young Liberians, and then they will work with me to be able to take Liberians that are good when it comes to athletic workings, so that they go to Barcelona and other teams. So I don't just, what I mainly sponsor directly is mainly the flats, the homes and other things, but then I also liaise with international partners and investors that I can tap into their resources so that they will come, because you know I cannot do all alone, neither can you. So some will come, they will build the hospitals in the city, some will build the shopping malls and other things. And of course, it's going to be for Gambia. It depends on how we want to go about it, because there are bilateral ties and there are ways you go into agreement. Or for example, if I come and do my investment as a businesswoman, I empower the young people and give my proceeds. For it is a government thing, then that's a different ball game. But if either way that this has to be handled, if I were to build a mini city, the first thing I will have to obtain the land, and I will have to know in terms of my security as well, you know, how is the Gambian government and the people of Gambia, you know, how are they going to, you know, keep their interests and my interests secured and protected? Is Gambia going to be safe for me? Is Gambia a place where we have trustworthy people and trustworthy youth that I can work with, and I'm not stressed about people maybe taking my building materials? You know, those are things that makes investors and other people weak. Of course, it happens. Liberia is not better or any other African countries, but you know, these are the things to look for. The first thing, your willingness, you know, the willingness of the government, and then that would inspire me more to take it to the next level. I hope that answers all of your questions.
I have a follow-up question if there's no one in the
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for bringing that. I believe if I would, let's assume the government is interested to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
After having this initiative in play to say that many city is in play, what is a target for this? What is your impression when the government's towards this?
Okay, if the government signed a contract and the mini city is built, of course there should be agreements again with the government, myself and my partners, and there will be expectations as well. You know, because we're building this city, you know, there are timelines, there are benefit-related issues, there are goals and objectives, and there will be the outcome. For example, if I build this city, I want maybe 90% of the youth to have jobs, instead of politicians doing the nepotism trend where they will bring their families and people they trust. And that's something that has to be worked on, and that's something that has to happen as a goal. So for example, I would expect the expectations to be met. And for example, if we agree, say, okay, there's a hotel in the city, there are homes to buy. For example, and I say, as someone who is like a humanitarian and someone who holds the well-being of the people of Africa dear to my heart, if I want a civil servant who is working to be able to earn some of these beautiful homes by doing from rents to owning, for example, you can start from renting and then we put your money towards it, because it's not everyone that have all the big money to buy homes, so that civil servants can be able to own decent homes. So again, it goes back to my objectives. I expect the government to do these things, you know, and I expect to do this project because this is the outcome I want to see. Because unfortunately, if the government does not do that, I won't want to do anything else in Gambia. So I will expect my expectations to be met for the people, what I want to see for them, and I expect, and obviously the government would expect me to, of course, build the city and do my part of the bargain. And also the young people would have a responsibility. Because then again, if we say we want youth to be represented, we want youth to do these things, And then we have to come back on the table and we're hearing, oh, the youths are misappropriating these things, that's where now it causes a more complex issue. So I hope that answers the question again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Gambia once again.
Thank you.
This is Sonko. My question goes to this is a good initiative that we want to bring to this country. Are you operating only in Liberia and Gambia now, or what about the second country?
Great question. As I said, it is my vision to work throughout Africa, and even my role as youth empowerment ambassador and so forth is global. It's not just Liberia. And for me, I believe Africa has a lot of potential and a lot of resources. And for some of us who are members of the young generation that have gone out and learned, we know that it takes us, it takes you, it takes me to step up and create the future we want. No one is going to come to create it. Why is it that we have robbers, we have farms, we have food, but we cannot process it? It takes us to come up to the table and say, Africa needs to have this. So I'm not just looking at Gambia or just Liberia, but the whole of Africa. That's why I said I'm visiting and meeting leaders of Africa and key stakeholders like him, like you, the young people who have a role to play at the table, so that we work together to create the Africa we want to see. So it's a continental thing. Except I go somewhere and I feel that, probably the government or the people are not ready for this. But it's a global thing for Africa, the continent, specifically.
I think this is why when they say somebody is a global ambassador, you need to understand what their work entails. Sometimes they are seated somewhere where I believe Gambia or some of our decision makers or policy makers are not. He goes to Washington DC, sitting there talking, and Gambia pops up. Somebody say, oh, we were thinking of taking this project to Gambia, but oh, we have this problem, we are thinking, oh, maybe we should go somewhere. This is where she can come and say, wait a minute, I've been to Gambia. It's a very peaceful country. It's nice. The young people are very hardworking, very friendly. I think Gambia will do. Let's take it to Gambia. This is what they do advocacy on our behalf. If you look at Gambia, sometimes we lose a lot of funding from the UN funding agencies because we are not well represented. We don't have people who go out there to do a better job so that we get our fair share of the cake. Our brothers across the border here, Senegal. If you look at most of the UN agencies now, you find Senegalese there. They are either heads or deputy heads, and they are getting Senegal qualified for a lot of funding programs in UN agencies. Gambia, we are not, unfortunately. So people like her, it's good for them to come interact and listen to us and study our environment. When they come, sometimes you'll be surprised. They see a lot of potentials that we don't see sometimes ourselves. I was here yesterday. I had some visitors also. The same thing. They came around and said, I can see that there's a lot of construction work going on here, infrastructure development. I said, yes. He said, but how do you get basalt? I said, well, it's imported from Senegal. I said, no, why should we import it from Senegal? So discussions like that, other opportunities like open up. So this is why we now live in a global market. We have to respect people's discipline. She is a global ambassador for climate change and the environment. Everything now you talk about in this world now, we cannot separate climate change. We are not contributing to the destruction of the climate, but then we are all paying a heavy price for it. So we should qualify for certain things that come our way. But how do we get that? Right? Sometimes the attitude by some of these donor countries or donor-funded companies or agencies, they don't want to deal directly with the government. They want to deal directly with people they recognize because they have done it in other countries. For example, she's telling you, I've done this stem cell, I've done this in Liberia, I've done this, I've done that. So they will be listening to that. So well, if she can do it in Liberia, then why not Gambia? She can do it. Some of those donor-funded agencies would not want to deal directly with government. We will have the fear that if I give this to Gambia, two things may happen. One, either it will be politicized. Two, it will not go to the right people. So that is a concern out there. So we have to also play the game and play it right. This is why we thought at the embassy in Sierra Leone that people like her can come to Gambia, meet with our young people, meet with our authorities, and then we take it from there.
So, seems to have a follow-up.
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
My name is Usman Jala. I am from PGD. I just want to answer a brief question with regards to how soon should Gambians expect like to see themselves like in these some of these development projects that have been projected. You did mention like collaboration. That is, if the government is willing to collaborate with you to make sure that like you work on some of these areas like establishing a mini city or like in the area of agriculture, making it lucrative for youth, so that like youth could turn to it. Like if you want to give a projection, because you've mentioned that you've worked in other African countries, like in your country, like considering the size of the Gambia, how soon do you expect to see Gambians benefiting from such initiatives?
Well, it still goes back to what I was saying. It depends on Gambia. If you're ready, for me, I like to even act and do more than talk. Because I believe one of our problems in Africa, we talk too much, more than we even do the tangibles. So for me, if Gambia is ready today and you put all of the mechanism in place, I'm ready. I know how to lobby. That's what I do. I've been doing this since I was 11. So once you're ready, I'm ready. And I expect to see the goals and objectives being met, as I said, that will be put in place. So it's all in your court. It is Gambia now that has to put her cards on the table. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Keva for a newspaper. And thank you very much. Welcome to the Gambia once again. I would like you to allow me to move from youth empowerment aspect of your engagement to climate change. I want to know what you can offer in respect to mitigating the effects of climate change. As he said, we are not contributing, but we are paying everything. So what can you offer as mitigating measures to mitigate the effects of climate change? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I would say we could put a lot of mechanisms in place, because as you said, and as Mr. Commissioner said, we face the price and we are paying the price. Of course, we don't create the plastics, but of course, they fund themselves in Africa. I don't want to say much with regards to the West, and we're paying heavily because we are not able to maybe work with a system to be able to contain these things. So it all goes back to policies again. That's why, as it relates to climate change and the mediation that comes with it, you cannot leave the government out and the key stakeholders. This is why I'm trying to do for my project in Liberia to even get the justice system in place. I mean to act or to play a specific role in that area. Because, for example, you have the EPA, and let me just tell you one thing about the first project I'm about to do. Aside from just going to schools and creating beautification projects for young people, well, of course, we need a tree, because some people don't even know that the trees you cut today to make the charcoal and stuff, they hold the ground, and of course, when the storm comes, it is that big tree that holds even your roof, but you're cutting all the trees down when you have no business cutting them, because of course some trees needs to be cut down, but the ones you cut down that don't need to be cut down, and then you go look, your roof is lifting up when there's storms, and you're wondering what's happening. So I believe we have to put policies in place and systems and strong mandates. This one has to do with the government, because Africa as a people, we have this mentality where we don't move until we are compelled to. Sometimes, I'm sorry to say, but that's the fact. It happens a lot with Liberia. For example, why would you or him or somebody, because it happens a lot, I'm saying it, go to the United States of America and you eat some peanuts and the plastic, you keep it in your car. Of course, because there are cameras all in the streets to watch you. And if you throw it in the street, which plastic, if it's not decomposed correctly, it causes a lot of issues. And you know that it affects the climate change, the entire protected climate environment, and it causes the climate hazard. And you throw it in the streets, and you know very well that if you throw it in the street in the United States of America, they will run behind you. The next morning, you will see the police at your door because they document everybody. It is because of this system that people will not do that. But once we come to Africa, we could throw everything down to the windows because, of course, the police and other people cannot track us. So what are the systems that we could put in place? But to be honest, as an ambassador of climate change, it's a very hard thing because the systems in Africa, it's very hard to implement them when you don't have the backends. Because for me, I'm an ambassador to the Senate. The Senate makes policies in Liberia. And I get to tell them, for example, if we're doing gold or diamonds, and this company is causing pollution or hazards by taking the gold and messing and polluting the water where they fish, because animals are very important in the area of climate change. Their lives matter. Though there are some animals that you eat, like the fish and other things, but you rid them of their life. When it comes to the UN codes, by poisoning the water, and all those animals in the water, they die and so forth, and they'll poison us. And now even sometimes if the chemicals go through them and you catch the fish and eat it, you die, you yourself. So it causes a lot of hazards. But then the government, this one, I'm a climate ambassador, I could only recommend to the government, tell this company to do this or put this regulation in place where we would get people to show them how to do it. And they would even pay taxes that could regulate these things that will bring back economic benefits to the country. But will the country be willing to let this happen? So for this, I would say in terms of mediation, there are lots of things that we could recommend. But for us as ambassadors, even the UN, you can only do what you can. It rests solely and fully on the arms of the leaders to be able to implement real climate active projects and proposals. Because even you and myself, we don't have the policies in our hands. And of course the UN, or even myself, we cannot force the hands of the government. Do they want these systems? If they want the system, those are things you can do. But I can say again to you, as young people, you know that if you throw the plastics in the street, it's wrong. You know that if you have a young daughter and you keep putting the candy on the table and she takes it, you don't talk, she will start taking other things. But if you discipline her, she will know that if you leave this here, it will stay there. That's the training. So you could train yourself and train other people and create awarenesses so that we know that if we do this, it pollutes our climate and it kills ourselves because we have a short lifespan, if we let these things affect us. Even the environment, if you pollute the environment, people don't know you're, inhaling all of the toxic atmospheric smells and all of those things. It cuts your life short. So it takes you to keep it clean. You cannot depend solely and fully on the mayors to come and clean your house. Like for Liberia, that's what we always say. Some people will want the cleaners of the city to come and clean their house. So we have our responsibilities too. Where the policies cannot reach, I think we should take the stand and be ambassadors ourselves by cleaning our homes and by telling other people it's wrong to do this, it's wrong to eat and throw the dirt in the street, it's wrong to do this and that with the plastic. And there's a way around it. Even the plastic, people don't know. You can turn waste into wealth. If you decompose these plastics, they turn to oil. Because that's the oil that the West take. Okay, I don't want to go too much into that, but that's the oil that the West take, and then they make these things. If you decompose them, they become oil for cooking gas and other things. How do you turn them into tangibles? Those are ways to create things that you could benefit from in your community. And that's something I'm trying to even do in Liberia. They have the machines that you buy and you build a hub where you can now pay and empower the youth and say, okay, if 5,000 youths bring me maybe a total of 10,000 classes every week, you get paid for that and you're promoted, you're trained, and then now you make cooking gas for the community. We can now cook and we won't have to use the coal. So these are other innovative ways that we can mediate and reduce the climate impact, aside from that, which is in direct relations to policy making. So being innovative is one way, and also being a messenger of your own or an evangelist when it comes to keeping your environment clean. Because once we have a green earth, we will have a longer lifespan to do all the great things we want to do for our continent. Thank you. I hope it answers your question.
Good afternoon once again.
Yeah.
What I want to say is what are your plans? What are your plans in moving forward?
In terms of
youth development, are they able to meet the youths and come to their level to ask them what they wanted to do and all that?
Well, I'm meeting different spectrums of youth. I just met some in entertainment, and I'm here with you all because, like I said, I have spent one day in the country, and that's why you're here. You could tell me from your perspective what you think. The entertainers have spoken, and of course, we have something to move on from. So I would like to hear from you all more so that we can be able to work. But for me, like I said previously, I'm ready once Gambia is ready. It is time now for you to put your cards on the table and then we take it forward because I would rather do more than talking much.
I think I can help you, madam, to understand it better. I think what she can do is, like when we had a meeting with the executive director, we asked the executive director, we have some projects already banked, like we have youth empowerment projects that the challenge is funding. That is things like that. We come, okay, we have this project, we give this project, if we implement it with good justification, 100 youth can get employed, it can be sustained, A, B, C, and D. The people have seasoned experts. So look at this and say, well, I don't think you can get funding for this unless you put A, B, and C there. If you put all there and say, yes, your project is ready, I think I can get you funding quickly. So he goes out there, sell your project, and get funding for you, come and support you, and guide you in setting up your project. Because he was basing it on examples where she has seen it happen somewhere. And she can go and knock on the doors of some of these global leaders that you and I cannot go. So this is what she does. And then, surprisingly, wherever we went earlier today, we had very good proposals. Very good proposals. Especially from the first lady. She has raised something that was touched all of us, our heart. And I think that is a very celebrable project. That's something you myself I'm ready to work on to make sure that that happens. So these are some of the things we just want to come, wake you up and say, National Youth Council, good project banking. You have some projects ready, you just need funding. Let's look at them. If these are projects that qualify for some of the UN agency funding projects, then she can help you get those projects funded. That's what she does. She will not come and do the whole project proposal and everything for you. No, she can advise. That's why she said she doesn't want to do this forever. She's a businesswoman. She's doing a lot of investment also in other aspects. Tourism, she's very much interested. In construction, she's very much interested. She has, when we visited Liberia, some of the things that I see she was trying to do was she had acquired a vast land and she wanted to build housing on that land so that people can rent to own. You are there, you are paying rent, and at some point it becomes yours. Instead of going to the commercial banks and taking loan, or you want to have money saved to build a house, which is not very good investment. So we want, like other Gambians are enjoying in other parts of Africa, the tough and others now we were in Nigeria, now it's in Sierra Leone. We want somebody also to bring those kind of ideas to Gambia here, so that our young people can be engaged and they can have employment and on sustainable basis. So this is what she's an expert. When somebody is a global ambassador for something, it means she is qualified. They have vetted her, they have examined her work, what she has been doing. She has built a track record. The global leaders, they trusted her. That's why they gave her that title as a global ambassador for climate change, which is a global issue, and youth empowerment. Because they know youth empowerment, youth employment, youth empowerment are becoming a headache for every government in every sort of region. So to identify somebody, a young lady, you must know that she has a track record. In fact, we didn't stop there. When we are doing her profile, when we are profiling her, I went to New York Beach and I saw a special story. It was April on the 25th, 2023, about her. Because I just don't want to bring somebody to Gambia. I don't have the confidence that this person can deliver. And why would somebody just take me out of my busy schedule from my office to come here and I'm trying to introduce her? New ideas, new thinking. That's what's happening globally. And Gambia should not be left behind. We need to talk to people like her, young people. She can explain to you what she thinks. If we do ABC, this is the results we can get. And it's not only with young people, even with our policy makers. That's why we want her to meet with certain ministers to tell them, look, this is what is happening globally. This is what every minister is thinking now. This is what developed countries are doing, and I want Gambia also to consider doing this and that.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to once again thank you very much. And I want to take Gambia as a home, like I told you before. Gambia and Nigeria have a very good history. That's why it was not a surprise during a difficult time. A lot of Nigerians took Gambia as a second home, and some decided to stay. Welcome home. And I want to thank the young people again for your time. This was our really keep it up.
Thank you so very much to all of you. Thank you for coming. At very, very short notice. Your presence is highly appreciated. Thank you very much.